By now, I'm sure most of you have heard about the Flutter 3.27 release, which came out in December. So I decided I should compile a short video for you people and for my learning for a better understanding of what has happened. The push to bring Cupertino widgets up to feature parity with their material counterparts continues as Cupertino Radio, Cupertino Checkbox, and Cupertino Switch get fidelity and customizability updates. For Cupertino Switch, the track color was renamed to Inactive Track Color. For Cupertino Checkbox, the inactive color is deprecated and we can use fill color instead of that. Cupertino Sliding Segmented Control also got fidelity upgrades, and it also now supports disabling segments and assigning proportional width. The disabled segment won't be tappable, and if proportional width is set to true, then the widget will wrap around the content instead of awarding each widget the width of the segment with maximum width. Cupertino Navigation Bar and Cupertino Sliver Navigation Bar now react to content when it scrolls underneath them. They stay the same color as the scaffold's background color and change to navigation bar's background color when content is scrolled underneath. Cupertino Button now has a new size style property which can be assigned small, medium, and large enum values. Also, a new tinted constructor is available to render beautiful tinted buttons. It also has a new on long press parameter. Cupertino Picker and Cupertino Date Picker will both scroll to the item that is tapped, and users can now second guess on the Cupertino action sheet as they can tap, slide, and let go when they've reached the intended action. Cupertino Context Menu actions now become scrollable when they overflow the screen. Carousel View gets a new weighted constructor to which flex weights can be assigned. By assigning different flex weights, different layouts can be achieved. For example, a flex weight of 252 with scroll direction horizontal means that maximum of 3 children will be laid out horizontally. The first one with the flex of 2, the second one with the flex of 5, and the third one with the flex of 2. If the available width is 900 pixels, then the first child is spread to 200 pixels, the second to 500 pixels, and the third to 200 pixels. When we scroll, the extents animate smoothly to the incoming children. Segmented buttons can now be aligned vertically by using the new direction parameter. A lot of bugs have also been fixed related to native Android experience or aligned with Material 3 specifications. Previously, we had the ability to transition from one screen to another using modal routes. However, in this release, we now have the ability to control how previous route is transitioned off the screen, all thanks to the new Delegated Transition API. This means that we can now sync the current route transitioning in and the previous route transitioning out together to make it look like it is just one transition. To do that, we can implement a new custom route which extends page route and use the delegated transition and assign it a slide transition. Since this is the previous route's animation, use the secondary animation. Now do the same for build transitions, but assign a slide transition with an opposite offset, as this is responsible for the current route transitioning in the screen. You've just mixed both current and previous route transitions. The real fun begins when you start playing around with different transitions. For example, slide transition for transitioning in, but scale transition for transitioning out. Selection area supports shift plus click selection, and selection region state.clear selection will clear the selection. We can do that by accessing the selection area state global key, which can then access the selectable region state.clear selection. If your rows and columns have sized box in between other elements for equal spacing needs, then a refactor is in order because a new spacing parameter has been introduced. Using this does not create a new widget under the hood, and that is why it doesn't show up in the widget inspector. Make sure to read the documentation as it has a slightly different behavior based on which main axis alignment is assigned. Impeller is now the default renderer for modern Android devices. For older devices without Vulkan support, Skia will be used. If you don't want to use Impeller, you can use the flutter run --no enable impeller command, or by placing the impeller metadata inside the Android manifest.xml file. For static images, decoding is now done through the img tag instead of WebAssembly, increasing performance. Some accessibility fixes are also part of this release. Improvement of drag scrolling in multi-view mode, and all packages developed by Flutter team were made compatible with WebAssembly. Swift Package Manager is now available on the stable channel, which means that plugin authors are now able to leverage Swift packages, and as SPM is bundled with Xcode, future projects would not need Ruby and CocoaBots to run on Apple platforms. As evident by the scoring metrics, Pub.dev will begin checking for SPM compatibility for iOS and macOS, and WebAssembly compatibility for web platform in the near future. Flutter 3.27 targets Android 15 by default and will use edge-to-edge display. If your app already supports edge-to-edge display, you're good to go. Otherwise, check out this awesome Android developer's guide to support edge-to-edge in your app. If you need more time to work on these changes and want to opt out temporarily, then you can go to styles.xml file and add the opt-out line to continue using Android 15 without the edge-to-edge mode. Make sure to migrate your apps timely, as Flutter team plans to add this by default for iOS as well. DevTools now has support to validate iOS deep links. Talking about deep links, the default deep linking is now supported automatically. But if you are using packages like AppLinks, Unilink, or Firebase Dynamic Links, then you need to explicitly set this to false. For Android, go to the Android manifest.xml file and set the deep linking enabled metadata. For iOS, use the Flutter deep linking enabled key. DevTools also has a new inspector with improved interface and experience. You can also prevent some widgets from showing in the widget tree, like widgets from Flutter framework and other packages. Click on Show Implementation Widgets to disable them. For more details on what's new, make sure to check out the Flutter community's article on Medium. If you want the source code for every snippet or screen displayed in this video, you can find it on my GitHub with different files for each example. To run a different example, all you have to do is change the name of the widget under the Flutter upgrade widget. I tried my best to explain everything to you in the simplest of words, and I hope you learned something new today. This is it for the Flutter upgrade video, and I will see you in the next one.